One of the areas that is on the mind of a lot of leaders is process improvement.
Yeah.
And I think that the question for me is, how do you ensure work processes and the systems are business focused and they support people's performance? I mean, I understand they can be business focused, but do they also support people's performance?
Right, right. And just to restate why this is so important, and I will get into it, our model assumes that you've really got to take a look at that factors external to individuals, the work environment needs, and processes are core to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because we often find that it's the processes that are causing the individual performance issues. So this is a really important topic to us. So if I can just cut to the quick here, out of all of our work with process improvement, there's 4 key manager-director behaviors that we look for when we work with our clients. And if we don't find them, we really work with the managers to make sure these 4 things are happening. The first one is we want to make sure that the managers are setting very specific and measurable performance objectives, standards, accountabilities, and goals for key processes. And just to give you an example as I go through all this, I have an ongoing relationship with a client where they're growing at a very rapid rate, and they've had to kind of completely redo their onboarding process. The whole process from hiring for the first time that an employee is brought in for an interview through day 1 through the first 90 days. If this company is going to be successful, I mean, they're bringing on a lot of people, and their processes for doing that were just minimal. So I have worked really closely with the vice president to make sure that these onboarding processes. So one of the first things we did was go back and look at all the onboarding process to make sure that they were that they had objectives, standards, and goals for each process. So we knew exactly what we were talking about. Number 2, ensuring that there's timely and efficient monitoring systems in place. So it doesn't do any good to have a process that's got goals and everything if you're not monitoring it and paying attention to it. So we've built in a lot of people's jobs now are to pay attention to these. We monitor some of them daily, and we monitor others on a monthly basis.
So an example of that might be that you would get a prompt. If you're a manager, you might get a prompt in your email that says you have a task to do with regard to onboarding.
Yeah, you as a hiring manager now, we monitor the processes that the managers are supposed to be following as they bring somebody on. And then we even monitor how employees are doing their first month, their second month, their third month. We have ways we actually contact employees 3 times during their first 90 days. It's all done by technology, and they give us feedback on how their onboarding is doing. Well, yeah. So we're getting real-time information about the process.
Well, the contrast to what you're talking about, Charlie, is the sink or swim model of onboarding. We hired you. We knew that you were a really good person. Just go do the job.
Right. Yeah. That works for some people, but
not very well.
Not very well.
No.
The third thing that we really pay attention to is adapting processes for better integration with other processes. So back to my onboarding example, we have processes, of course, from bringing the person through the hiring procedure and getting them on board. But there's all sorts of things these people are going to need to do in terms of learning. Learning our process, learning the company's procedures, and there's FDA requirements and everything else. So we've integrated the onboarding processes with the learning and development processes, so that they're carefully linked.
Yeah,
which has been tremendous.
Yeah, and a good example of this is Hewlett Packard. Is known for its integration of processes, and so you're a new employee. In the first 30 days, you're watching a video about the HP way.
Yeah.
And what does that mean to you as a new person? What are the ethical considerations as an HP employee that you have?
Yeah. And the fourth thing that we really pay attention to is making sure that managers are taking action. and empowering other folks to make process improvements when there's a glitch. I mean, no process is perfect. It's going to, as soon as you roll out the process, you're going to learn. So the fourth thing that's incredibly important is that we stay on top of all the performance glitches, and you fix them, correct them immediately. And the way we've done that with this onboarding, the managers and directors receive feedback from all this data that we collect, in terms of how their onboarding processes are seen. We collect the data and give it right back. When I say we, HR takes a big responsibility here, provides that feedback directly to the hiring managers on a monthly basis. It says, here's what your folks are saying, your new hires are saying, that this didn't work, they didn't get they had to wait for their computer for 3 weeks. So we try to give feedback back so that people have the information so that they can make corrections. And the only other thing I would add to this in terms of this whole overall model is the process has to be seen as important by senior management. I mean, you have to, there has to be consequences for paying attention to the model, to the process or not. And